All right, guys, we are back at my favorite Bay Area Tesla supercharger, where we are going to test out another NACS to CCS adapter and see how it measures up to the original from Tesla and to the Ford NACS to CCS adapter. This one is going to be made by EVDANCE. Let's take a look at the box and see what's inside. As we flip the camera around here, you can see my collection of favorite EV adapters. This first one here is the new Ford adapter made by Lectron, and this is a great one. This is what they're giving out now when you purchase an adapter. Then there is the original Tesla adapter that is distributed by Ford originally and Rivian. I don't know if Rivian is still distributing these. This is a really great compact adapter. For the most part, works great. Lighter, smaller, but doesn't quite have the heft of some of the other ones. And then my personal favorite is the A to Z adapter. This one has just a great design with a single button on top. And I find this is the one that I kind of have as my go-to adapter for the most part. This one here with the Tesla one at the bottom is a little bit more tricky to disconnect. And then the Lectron one, not as difficult, but does have a 2-button design rather than the 1-button that's done by A to Z. So the question is, how will this adapter by EVDANCE measure up? You can see on the box, it's got this crazy design, really big. Let's take a look inside as we open this up and see what they are doing. Right off the bat, I can tell you something that I have not seen from the others is that it has this case. Let me see if I can shake that off of there as I'm doing this with one hand. But this comes with a really cool case. Check this out. A to Z also provides a case, but the Ford adapter doesn't, and the Tesla one, I got this case off Amazon. So shout out EVDANCE. That's really cool that they have a case involved here. So let's unzip this thing and take a look at what's inside. And you've got, of course, the instruction manual, which, as you know, if you've watched my previous videos, I never read. And then you've got the adapter itself. So this, again, just a really big, differently shaped adapter. I have not seen one like this before. Something interesting here on the bottom. You can see on the back, it doesn't really have a button there. This has a really interesting design with a twist knob. So that's not anything I've seen before. And I've seen the original A to Z had like a latch deal at the bottom. This is the first time I've seen a knob. Let's take a close look and listen if we have any clicking. I don't hear any switch or clicking, so that brings up an interesting concern of how this is going to work in terms of the ability to disconnect safely the charger from the back of the adapter and make sure that there's no risk of arcing. So we're gonna have to test that out for sure. And then on the top, there is the button, and I'll hold this up to my microphone. You can definitely hear the clicking when I click that button. So that would seem to work properly. When you press that down, the button is going to disconnect. Now, as we look down the barrel, one of the things that we've mentioned in our other videos is I'm always looking for that little piece between the DC pins, and that is going to tell us if it has a lockout. This does not have it. If you look here at the adapter that the new one from Ford that Lectron makes for them, you can see there's that added pin for the lockout that is right between the DC pins. And I also like that, again, there's blanks up here at the top. There's no AC pins at the top of it. They completely remove those. And then here again on the original Tesla adapter, same thing, right? No AC pins at the top exist. And then that lockout right between the two DC pins that make it so that you cannot unplug the charge cable from the adapters as long as there is power. You've got to disconnect from the vehicle before you unplug the charger from the back of the adapter. And so there's going to be a big question on whether or not this allows that. A to Z, because it's got the single button design, it does it a different way. There is not the interlock in between the DC pins, but the only way to disconnect it is to press that button on top, and that will then turn off power from the charger. And so then once you've removed this from the vehicle, then you can unplug the NACS cable from the back of the adapter. So this again does it safely, and many of them do not. So that will be one of the big things that we test with the EVDANCE. So let's take a look and see how it does. All right, and now comes the fun part where we plug this guy in and see, does it rip? What we should see is a charge curve that kicks up with that 500 amp boost. somewhere in the 170, 180 kilowatt range. And then as it gets deeper into the pack and it comes off of that 500 amps, you're going to see it settle in around 145 or so. After that, it tapers off to 120. And then eventually, as it nears 80%, that's where it goes all the way down to the mid 50s. So we're going to plug this in. We're going to take a temperature of the ambient for when it starts, and then we're going to check in after it comes off of that 500 amp boost and see where it's at. Then we're going to check it again at the end. Make sure that it's not overheating or anything. There are sensors in this to derate it if for some reason it did get too hot. It's a pretty moderate day here in the Bay Area, so it shouldn't be a problem. If it is, that's definitely a red flag. Then we're going to check out that odd kind of deal at the bottom towards the end. We're going to try to twist that knob and see what happens. What should ideally happen is if I twist that knob, it should stop charging. Should have some kind of switch or something in there that prevents it from being live when the charge plug is into the back of this and I disconnect it. It should not be live. It should not be able to arc. And so we definitely want to check that out and see what that's like. And we'll give that a test as well. So stay tuned. Let's get it plugged in. Let's get it ripping. All right, so I have activated it with the Tesla app. That way I get my discount. We're going to head over here to the charge port door. That pops open. Flip the switch down, or the flap down, I mean. We're going to plug this guy in first because we're going to check that out and see how that does, because with the lockout, you're not able to plug this in first and then the charger into the adapter. So with this, I'm guessing you'll be able to. So we're going to take and insert this here. It's got a really aggressive click. I heard it latch, so that's interesting. And then I'm going to turn. Well, it's already flashing blue, and I haven't turned the knob underneath it. So it makes me wonder if this is going to start charging, and I haven't even, I can hear the Tesla supercharger spooling up. See if you can pick that up on the microphone. So the Tesla supercharger is going, and all I've done is plug the charger into the adapter. And I have not flipped the little knob or switch underneath it at all. And I'm just gonna give it a twist here and see if anything happens. So I am twisting, and no, I've twisted it all the way around. I've twisted it all the way back the other way. Absolutely nothing happens when I do that. I'm gonna bring the camera down just so you can see and verify what I'm doing here. So underneath here, this is where you can see that knob. And it's got a lock and an unlock position. And so as I twist this, you can tell there's no switch or anything preventing it from being unplugged or plugged in. And there's nothing here to de-energize this adapter, which you ideally should have. So I think all this does is, in the lock position, it's going to keep me from being able to pull the adapter out. So if it's locked, I can't pull it out. If it's unlocked, I presumably can pull it out again. But that doesn't mean that it's not energized, and that's a really bad idea. So we've confirmed our first concern, and if I had one recommendation right off the bat for EVDANCE, you gotta fix that. You never want to have a situation there where that can be unplugged while it's energized, and right now you can absolutely do that. And although you're supposed to twist that lock first, I just think that that's not something you want to leave to the user. Let's check out the temperature, and let's check out the charge speed we're at. All right, so as we check out the ambient temperature, we are in the mid to upper 80s. There at the actual handle of the Tesla supercharger, we're in the mid 90s. As we go over here closer to the charge port door, we're also in the mid 90s, and 92, 93 I've been seeing. So that's kind of our starting point, is we're looking at the mid 80s, low 90s, maybe as high as the mid 90s. So that's gonna tell us kind of what our starting temperature is. Let's see what happens as we get deeper into the charge and check it again. Let's also check what the charge speed is to start with. All right, let's see if we can minimize the glares here. And you can see, if we look here on the display, you can see we're already up to 178. And as the pack voltage climbs, I do believe that will reach 180. So that's a good sign to start with. We are already at 18% state of charge, and we started at 8%. So we've added 10% relatively quick. So that's really cool. You can see here that our charge session on the Tesla app, we are at 18%, 178 kilowatts. So yep, all that is there. And then here you can see this is, we're using the car scanner app here with a OBD2 port adapter. And so you can see that our kilowatts right now is 26 kilowatt hours into the battery. Down here, you can see the charge limit is 182. High voltage pack right now is at 356. You'll see that climb as we charge it up. And then the charge power right now is 178. It did start at a low state of charge, so the higher it gets in the pack, the better chance at that 500 amps that we'll see 180. Right now, it seems to be settling in right at 178, so that might be all we get. Maybe it'll do a little tick higher into 180, but yeah, this is pretty much exactly what we want to see to start with. So we will check back in a minute and see how it maintains it. Just an update, you can see here we are now at 27%, so 19% battery added in about 9 minutes. We're at now 137 there, and you can see over here on the Tesla app, 9 minutes of charging, and we are slowing down there to about 130. You can see 370 amps as it came down off that 500 amp boost that we originally had. Here you can see the pack voltage has gone up to 356, and battery pack is still in the 88 degrees, so that's not getting too hot or anything crazy there. And then, yeah, you can see pretty much all our stats here look aligned the way they should. So it's now settled in here at 131 kilowatts, and we're going to let it go at that rate for a while. Yeah, we'll see how that goes, and then we'll take another temperature in a bit and see how that is. So the next thing we want to check coming off that 500 amp boost there is how the temperatures are looking. So on the handle itself, you're looking at about 105, 106, 107 right there. And now as we look at the adapter, you're sitting around 100, 101, 105. So nothing remarkable, nothing out of control there. On any of these adapters I've tested, somewhere in the 120, 130 is about as hot as I've ever seen it get, even on a hot day. So this is pretty much in line though with what I've seen on mild days. There we saw like a 110 kind of flash up there in a second. And this tends to be right here where the handle is. That seems to be the hottest. So there you can see a 105. I'm trying to find that 110 again that I saw flash up there for a moment. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything crazy here on the adapter itself. It doesn't seem to be overheating. I'm just going to try to take that angle there, just right where it goes into the truck. And again, I'm not seeing anything here that is too much at all. So turn that off, and then as I touch the handle itself, and as I touch the adapter, yeah, nothing. Absolutely fine to the touch. So that's a really good sign. We're gonna let it continue here. It's a pretty long charge. Gonna take about 40 minutes or so. So we're gonna let it keep going, keep ripping, and it should stay around 120 all the way until it gets closer to 70% or so. As it gets to 80%, that's where it drops off into the 50, 55 kilowatt range. We're gonna let it continue on that nice flat curve. And we love Ford for that. That certainly makes charging easy and predictable. And then we're going to check it here as we get closer to the end. All right, so just want to get a little shot here. We're charging at 115 kilowatts. It's just been holding this steady the whole time. We just reached 70%, and I wasn't sure if it was going to dip down below, but it really hasn't. The Ford Lightning charge curve is just so incredible. Just holds that 115 the whole time. Sometimes I'll see it closer to 120, 124, somewhere in that area, but this has just been rock solid at 115. So as we look at some of the stats here, you can see that we're now at 71%. We've got the high voltage battery at 383, so you can see that's quite a bit higher than earlier. Our amps are all the way down below 300 amps. So you can see that that's a lot different than when you start off at that 500 amp area. Pack voltage is, not pack voltage, pack temperature is only at 98 degrees. So again, nothing remarkable or crazy there. So yeah, it's still holding steady, that 115 kilowatts. It looks like it's going to do that all the way to 80%. So let's swing over here and take a look at what we see now. The handle, again, is normally the hottest. It's only at 95, 96. As we're going around, there's a 100 on the side of the adapter, 101, 107, 109. There we go. We saw a 110 earlier. So right there on the side is where we saw that quick jump up there. But there was a 108 that we just saw. And again, nothing at all out of control or remarkable, nothing that would make me worry about this adapter. So other than that switch on the bottom, which, man, such a great adapter otherwise it would seem in terms of temperature control. I'm just going to put my hand on it there and see if I feel anything, and I just don't. The warmest part of it really is just going to be that side piece that we saw, and even that just doesn't feel at all warm to the touch. So yeah, I gotta say, it's just ripping just fine. As I kind of reach underneath and just give that lock another twist, I'm just going back and forth with it. And again, it just has zero impact on turning off the charger. So that is just the only concern. Like, why design it that way? Otherwise, this adapter is fine. But like so many others that we've seen, there's just these little bits of safety that you're like, just take the extra time, guys, and engineer in that safety switch and that ability there to keep it locked out and keeping it from people from being able to pull that out of there. Time and again, I think we see this, and I think that's the big red flag you got to be aware of. But otherwise, it's just pulling, charging strong, no heating problems, no derating problems, nothing else to worry me. But man, if someone uses it the wrong way, you know, there's nothing to stop them, unfortunately. So let's see what it does when it hits 80%. It should kick down into the mid 50s. Let's see if that holds true, and then we'll wrap up the video. All right, we are back in the truck. Let's take a look here as it approaches 80%. Let's see how the adapter does. You'll actually see, oddly enough, it is now increased up to 117 kilowatts. So
expected delay due to traffic is 5 minutes.
Crazy GPS there. So just now you can see it dropped down to 80%. Let's see what the kilowatts does. It's dropped down to 61 kilowatts. So that's actually one of the highest I've ever seen. Sometimes I'll see it in that 55 kilowatt range, but 61 is still ripping strong, down to 60 there. So at 80% to still be doing 60 kilowatts, I mean, one, I just love the lightning charge curve, but two, clearly this adapter has no problems at all. And you can see down here as we look at the details from the car scanner, the amps is down to 150 amps there. The temperature is still 98 degrees for the pack, nothing remarkable there. So yeah, it's pretty much doing exactly what it should do. So big dilemma really with this and so many adapters comes down to the safety aspect, the engineering aspect, that one little detail there about the lockout and the odd switch design underneath. Otherwise, it's working as good, if not better, than any adapter I've ever seen. So that being said, on all my videos, I talk a little bit about the safety. I talk about, does it void warranties? I talk about all of that. So let's do the same on this video. If you've seen this before in my other reviews of charging adapters, you can skip this last part. But if not, yeah, let's kind of go to that. Let's talk about, does it void your warranty to use one of these? Let's talk about the safety. Let's talk about UL listing, because this says it is UL listed. And I got to tell you, there's just no way that's true. Stay tuned and I'll tell you why. One thing people worry about with these adapters is that manufacturers like Ford and Rivian and others can void your warranty if you don't use their specific approved adapter. However, there is a law called the Magnuson-Moss Act, which does not allow manufacturers to take and void your warranty for using third-party aftermarket accessories and tools. Now, do you want to risk that hassle if it happens? What are the odds of it happening at all? How would they know what adapter you even used? These are all things you do want to consider, and you have to think about what you're comfortable with when you're choosing an adapter. I can tell you this much, that I've used a lot of them, and the biggest thing for me is, can it handle the 500 amps and can it handle the 1000 volts? Now, this is where it gets tricky. The only real official approved adapter are those that come from the manufacturer or Tesla themselves. Every other adapter on the marketplace is, according to their terms of use, not an approved adapter. And so you want to think about that and whether or not you want to go with one of these aftermarket adapters that are out there. I'll also mention that a lot of these you have to be careful about, because in the description, they'll say they're UL listed or they'll say they're safety certified. And I've just found that not to be the case. I can tell you there is a UL certification, but the only one currently that has done that and passed it is Amphenol, and that adapter is not available on the market. Others will say that they are safety certified and UL certified, but they really mean is that the cladding or the casing might meet some different UL code. It's not the adapter code. I can promise you, as the date of this recording, which is August of 2025, even the OEM ones are not UL certified. And one of the big reasons for that is the way the UL certification is written. You have to be able to test your adapter on a non-liquid cooled cable. And that is not going to happen with 500 amps. There's no way that's going to occur. So how these folks are going to market their adapters, they're not going to be able to do it for 1000 volts, 500 amps. It's just not possible. So it's somewhere in the 300 amp area is what these adapters will do with a non-liquid cooled cable. And so anytime you see somebody say that they are certified at 500 amps, 1000 volts, UL listed, safety certified, I promise you they are talking about something other than the actual adapter UL listing, or they're just making it up entirely. Let that be a red flag for you.